The first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. If you can't explain something in simple terms, you don't understand it. The pleasure of finding things out is the most important thing that drove me. Physics is like sex. Sure, it may give some practical results, but that's not why we do it. I was born not knowing and have had only little time to change that here and there. You have no responsibility to live up to what other people think you ought to accomplish. Science is the belief in the ignorance of experts. Nature has a great simplicity and therefore a great beauty. I learned it very early, the difference between knowing the name of something and knowing something. Nobody ever figures out what life is all about, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how beautiful your theory is. It doesn't matter how smart you are. If it doesn't agree with experiment, it's wrong. What I cannot create, I do not understand. I think it's much more interesting to live not knowing than to have answers which might be wrong. Of course you can fly. Everybody flies. You just need the right sleigh. I'm smart enough to know that I'm dumb. Know how to solve every problem that has been solved. When I see equations, I see the letters in colors. I don't know why. What do you care what other people think? Fall in love with some activity and do it. Nobody ever figures out what life is all about, and it doesn't matter. Poets say science takes away from the beauty of the stars, mere globs of gas atoms. Nothing is mere. For a successful technology, reality must take precedence over public relations, for nature cannot be fooled. Interesting to live not knowing than to have answers which might be wrong. You can know the name of a bird in all the languages of the world, but when you're finished, you'll know absolutely nothing whatever about the bird. So let's look at the bird and see what it's doing. That's what counts. We are trying to prove ourselves wrong as quickly as possible, because only in that way can we find progress. I think nature's imagination is so much greater than man's. She's never going to let us relax. Religion is a culture of faith. Science is a culture of doubt. To every man is given the key to the gates of heaven. The same key opens the gates of hell. It is much more interesting to live with uncertainty and to live with answers which might be wrong. Teach your tongue to say I don't know, and you will progress. It's not what we don't know that gets us into trouble. It's what we know for sure that just ain't so. I am always ready to learn, but I do not always like being taught. You can't get to wonderful without passing through all right. Joy in looking and comprehending is nature's most beautiful gift. I'd hate to die twice. It's so boring. After you finish doing something, you know so much more. And then you can make your decision about thinking. So I can never make up my mind. I'm not unusual. Study hard what interests you the most in the most undisciplined, irreverent, and original manner possible. The idea is to try to give all the information to help others to judge the value of your contribution, not just the information that leads to judgment in one particular direction or another. You do not really understand something unless you can explain it to your grandmother. The only way to deep happiness is to do something you love to the best of your ability. Life's adventures are not in getting what we want, but in the motion that divides us from it. I would rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned. Reality must take precedence over public relations, for nature cannot be fooled. The worthwhile problems are the ones you can really solve or help solve, the ones you can really contribute something to. Science is what we have learned about how to keep from fooling ourselves. Physics is interesting because it's the knowledge of how things work, and it's so beautiful. Not because it's useful. It is useful, but that's not why we do it. We absolutely must leave room for doubt, or there is no progress, and there is no learning. There is no learning without having to pose a question. If our small minds, for some convenience, divide this glass of wine, this universe, into parts, physics, biology, geology, astronomy, psychology, and so on, remember that nature does not know it. If you want to learn, teach. If you need inspiration to inspire others, life is a beautiful loop. It is imperative in science to doubt. It is absolutely necessary for progress in science to have uncertainty as a fundamental part of your inner nature. I don't know what's the matter with people. They don't learn by understanding. They learn some other way by rote or something. Their knowledge is so fragile. If you're not doing something, you're not doing anything. Experiment, try, learn, fail, and try again. The why of why we are here is an extremely interesting question, as long as it's not coupled with what happens when we die, because I don't give a damn about that. You are under no obligation to remain the same person you were a year ago, a month ago, or even a day ago. You are here to create yourself continuously. I think all this talk about age is foolish. Every time I'm 1 year older, Everyone else is too. The most important thing is to not stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. It's not what you have at the moment that counts. It's what you have the courage to give. Do not worry too much about your difficulties in mathematics. I can assure you mine are still greater. Feynman's rule. If you're stuck in a problem, invent a new way to solve it. There's a big difference between knowing the name of something and knowing something. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. God was invented to explain mystery. God is always invented to explain those things that you do not understand. The thing that doesn't fit is the thing that's most interesting. The value of a problem is not so much coming up with the answer, but in the ideas and attempted solutions it forces to the surface. No problem is too small or too trivial if we can really do something about it. I have approximate answers and possible beliefs and different degrees of uncertainty about different things, but I am not absolutely sure of anything, and there are many things I don't know anything about. All the time you're saying to yourself, I could do that, but I won't, which is just another way of saying that you can't. You must not expect anything from others. It's you, your own efforts, that must make you a better person. A great pleasure in life is doing what people say you cannot do. We learn from science that we must doubt the experts. Science is the belief in the ignorance of experts. Everything is interesting if you go into it deeply enough. Rate of learning is not proportional to the time you spend trying to learn. Try to make your life a work of art, an adventure, a contribution. Knowledge is what makes the unknown familiar. An expert is a person who has made all the mistakes that can be made in a very narrow field. Artists and poets see something in nature that a scientist does not other than a vast and intricate system of interrelations. One of the beautiful things about science is that it allows us to bumble along, getting it wrong time after time, and feel perfectly fine as long as we learn something each time. The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious. To me, I've been given the privilege of being alive. The only way I can pay for that privilege is to help others. The idea is not to block every shot. The idea is to make your opponent believe that you might block every shot. Stop telling yourself that you're not what you should be. You are what you are, and that is okay. Understanding is a lot deeper than knowledge. There are many people who know many facts, but who do not really understand what they're about. The act of working through problems, grappling with them, and attempting various strategies is what creates understanding and innovation. An experiment is a question which science poses to nature, and a measurement is the recording of nature's answer. Playing is experimenting with chance. The highest forms of understanding we can achieve are laughter and human compassion. Don't let the practical things get in the way of doing what excites you. If it excites you, there's a way to do it. A person starts to live when he can live outside himself. It's what we think we know that keeps us from learning. In order to make progress, one must leave the door to the unknown ajar. You are much stronger than you imagine. Remember, the most difficult times often lead to the greatest moments of your life. Celebration is the practice of finding the joy and lessons in all of life's moments, not just those we deem special or successful. Being wrong opens up the possibility of change. Being right might imprison you in your errors. There is no end to the adventures we can have if only we seek them with our eyes open. Only those who dare to fail greatly can ever achieve greatly. When someone stops telling you they love you, it's not that they don't care anymore, but maybe they want you to feel the love without words. Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. Good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and science.